Soundstripe.
Hello, welcome to Hawk Talk, the only podcast where you can get all of your news, all the happenings at the Batemans Bay Football Club in the one spot. I'm your host, Joel Erickson. That over there or there, I don't know which direction he's in, but he's in one of the directions. Is the co-host Mick Kenny? Mick, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jolly. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. It's been a few weeks since we've done one of this. We've been a little bit we seem to just be doing these on Origin nights, mate. That
We
seems to
do,
be the pattern.
we
So
do. Yeah, nice early podcast for Origin, but yeah,
that's it. And our special guest tonight is a very important one. We announced the news a few weeks back. We've got him on the show. We're gonna pick his brain. It's the 2026 first grade coach and the inaugural first grade coach going into AFL Canberra first grade this time around. Sam Martyn. Sam, how are you?
Good, thanks, Joel. Good to see you too, Mick. It's great to be here.
Now, Sam, tell me, do you prefer Sam or Marto? Because I've heard both.
Look, it's Look, I get called both quite often, so I'm happy with either. To be honest, so if you start with Sam and end with Marto, it's completely fine.
We'll go between. I might even call you Bruce at one stage. We'll see how we go.
Absolutely, go for it.
Hey Mick, let's talk briefly about the action on field because it's been 3 weeks since we've last had a podcast, and it's been 3 pretty good weeks of senior footy for the club. The senior men's we'll speak about first because you are still undefeated. You've had good wins over Adfer and Gugong, and then a big win on the weekend over Yass. But Mick, we've spoken about this before, and I wanted to bring it up again because it happened again on the weekend. Bit of a slow start in the first quarter. You ended up winning this game by about 70 odd points, but you were behind at quarter time.
yeah.
Mick, at what point do you, as a coach, start becoming a little bit concerned about these kind of lethargic starts?
I don't know. I think Munners was talking about it last time we had him on. I just feel like even though we were behind at quarter time, we still felt really comfortable about our process. And I think we identified a couple of things that Yass were doing really well in the first quarter. It was probably really small ground at Murray Bateman, very different to what we're obviously used to at Hanging Rock. So it was probably just getting our gauge on that and I guess the way that they moved it, they were really lateral the way that they played. They were really aggressive. They looked to take the game on through the corridor a hell of a lot. But I think we knew once we obviously lifted the pressure gauge a bit, they probably self-destructed themselves a little bit after quarter time. Just once our pressure lifted, and we were just going sort of long and direct and getting it to the big fella down there in the goal square.
Do you think there was an element of feeling out as well, given Yass is a team that you haven't played in first grade for a few years now?
Yeah, I think so. We obviously played them. It's the only team that we've played twice now. So we played them at the start of the year, and similar at the start of the year, Jolie, they jumped us early in that first quarter. So I actually rate them. I think they're a pretty handy footy side. They're really young, but they play a really sort of attacking brand of footy. So I think it could be Smokies to sneak in the 4. To be fair, and could be dangerous as well.
Now you mentioned the big bloke in the goal square, and Sam, you'll love to hear this for next year as well, mate. But Big Buster Ware kicked 10 on the weekends. He now has 56 in 11 games, I believe, Mick, which is this is just quick maths on my behalf, but that's averaging more than 5 goals a game, which is ridiculous levels. I understand as well that he may not have had the start that he wanted, and it might have copped a bit of a chirp from the opposing bench.
Yeah. Brett Petter and Danny White will get a bit of a giggle out of it. But yeah, on the weekend I was obviously running the bench, and the benches are pretty close together at Murray and Bateman, so you can sort of hear what the opposition are saying. And Buster actually kicked a goal in the first maybe minute of the game, and then he had another chance later in that quarter and missed. And yeah, there was a bit of chirp from the Yas bench saying it might not have been Buster's day, but yeah, managed to kick lazy 9 straight after that. So he might have put his foot in it, I think.
Oh no. Sam, you've played a lot of footy in your day. Have you got any tales where you can say that you've stuck it up an opposing coach like that before, mate?
Well, surprisingly, I don't know if this is probably too recent, but we played Coolman, so healthy rivalry we have against them. And funny enough, the last couple of weeks, ever since I've signed, I've been a few people have been telling me that or asking when I'm going to Bateman's Bay. And it happened against Coolum, and their I don't know if it was their coach or assistant coach, whoever it was, basically told me to hurry up and go with a few expletives added in, and I happily returned serve and said I will after I've beaten you guys, and sure enough, that was in the first quarter, so I had to stand on that hill because if we lost, it was going to look pretty silly. But we ended up getting the win, and I think I returned serve to in the last quarter and asked why they gone so quiet. Um, and after the game, their coach had a few words to me, which was interesting. But yeah, it's actually funny how recent it was.
I guess news spreads quick, mate. Mick, I don't know about you, but I think that's the exact kind of character we like at the
Yeah,
footy club here.
definitely.
Someone with a bit of someone with a bit of spunk who's willing to have a go when need be. So, just on goal kicking as well, I wanted to mention Michael Thane and Nathan Blackburn, who are both top 10 in the comp as well with for their goals. Two guys who probably haven't traditionally kicked an awful lot, but I understand Nathan's playing more of a forward kind of role this year, and it seems to me like Thane is just having the season of his life as well.
Yeah, probably the last month, mate. I think Thane's probably been the best player in the competition, in my opinion. The last at least 3 or 4 weeks. Plays midfield, but he's obviously going forward and kicking bags of goals as well. Like he's consistently kicking 2 or 3 every week. So, yeah, in a really purple patch at the moment. And likewise, his Blackers, mate. He's playing some really good footy, and like you say, traditionally played on the wing the last few years, and moved into a half forward flank. And now with Harry Shannon over in Europe, he's sort of stepped into that centre half forward role and plays a really selfless role at times, and is a pretty good foil for Buster for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and two guys who Nathan in particular has been a stalwart of the club for a few years now. Obviously he was the coach last year, so probably getting a bit of reward. Am I allowed to say in his older age? He's what 33 now. um, Getting a bit of reward and bagging a few goals. And I think you know a little bit about that as well, Mick, based on your performance on the weekend. Because let's talk about the reserves.
Yep.
It was a loss on the weekend to Murray Bateman, but I did notice one M Kenny had a couple of snags. So you must be pretty thrilled with that performance, Mick.
Yeah, obviously out of position, mate. I come back from a head knock from the Adfa game, so I had the week off against Gugong, but yeah, I don't think we're too far off. I think Cam was pretty happy with the performance as well. So we had a few guys that were unavailable: Sean Green, Pete Thompson, a few guys that are obviously in our sort of best few players. So having those guys not there didn't help as well. And but yeah, I think we feel we're probably not too far off the mark. It's just unfortunate now. I think we've only got 3 games left that we've probably got to win every game now in the twos to make the four, which I think is definitely a huge possibility for sure.
Yeah, I will say I've said it before. I'll say it again. Don't let this team make the finals if you're other teams in that Div Two comp because if you've got your full squad, that's going to be a very tough out for anyone playing in August and September. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it as well because I've noticed a few names popping up on the reserve grade team sheets the last few weeks, and I know the nature of reserve grade means they're probably not back for good, but I did notice one Adam Bradbury might have laced up the boots.
Mm,
A Jonas Slocky Albert as well
mm,
might have come back for a game. And
yeah.
then I did also notice there might have been a Jade Eaton and a Dylan Art there at one point as well.
Yeah, yeah. So the Queensland boys were home for a random couple of weeks there. So we obviously got them involved, and yeah, Jonah. I think he's one and done, but he was tearing them to bits. Adfa and yeah, Noodles was. Yeah, I don't know if he's one and done or not, but he'll obviously still need to play. He'll probably have to play the last three to to qualify as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's good to obviously still have those boys available at times, even though they can't sort of commit to the whole year for certain reasons.
I will say I only knew Dylan Art was playing because he was in the group chat during the week trying to ask for shorts. So
Yeah, yeah.
um, he's he's got his priorities straight there. Let's talk about the women. They unfortunately did take their first loss in the last 3 weeks. They lost a tight one to Gugong. But they're still ticking along quite nicely. From what I can see based on scores. How are you seeing their game and their progress this year, Mick? From what you can see.
Yeah, definitely, mate. That first sort of half or three quarters against Gugong was, yeah, as good of sort of women's footy that I've seen, to be fair. And then probably the last quarter, they just kicked away a little bit, Gugong, but I think the girls take a fair bit of confidence out of it, knowing that they're not too far off, and obviously bounced back last week with a massive win over Yass. I think it was 120 points or something win. So, yeah, they've got Kuma this week, who are sort of down the bottom of the ladder, and then they got a good test against Woden. With two buys then going into finals, so they've only got 2 games left now. The girls.
Yeah, not ideal to have back-to-back weeks off going into finals like that. But I mean, that's a very good football team that's ticking along just like they have just about every other year of their existence. So yeah, look, fingers crossed. I think everyone at the club they can go that one extra step and get that elusive premiership. Also, the other let's keep talking about women at the club because your Rising Stars girls had their second win of the season over Ainsley. Massive achievement for a new team. Mick, how is that team travelling in your eyes from I guess from an operations manager point of view?
Yeah, really good, mate. They're funny, that team. They're probably not quite as strong in Canberra. Just given the we've got Isla Judd, who's from Eden. We've got a couple of girls from Burmy, a part of that team as well. But yeah, when we travel, we're probably not quite as good, but very dangerous team at home. We've obviously had our 2 wins now and our draw all at home. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. There's still a really good chance of making the four as well, with some winnable games coming up as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that sort of pans out. But yeah, really stoked for them on the weekend to get the win over Ainsley. Yeah, it's always good beating Ainsley. Obviously, a pretty handy side and football club in their own right. So, yeah, they sort of got off to a really good start, and they coughed up a big lead against Eastlake the other week and held on for the draw. So it was good to see them just kick on and get that win.
And walk us through briefly what the Rising Stars men's team has been up to as well, Mick.
I think it was their best performance on the weekend, mate. Went down to Ainsley by, I think it was 40 points, but yeah, they battled really hard, especially the first half. First half was unreal. It was so good to watch. And third quarter, there was probably just a patch there where I think Ainsley kicked away. They kicked 3 or 4 in a row, and that was probably the damage. But other than that, I think they take a lot of confidence out of the last couple of weeks. Against Tuggeranong, they were a bit flat in the first half and really fought hard in the second half. And I thought they probably put together 3 quarters of pretty good footy against Ainsley as well. So they're in the good time slot on Saturday this week. So they're at 4 o'clock against Belco. So I'm sure that those boys will be primed and raring to go for that as well.
Let's talk about this weekend as well because it's a pretty big weekend for the club. You've got your premiership reunion from the '85 team. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah, so first grade and reserve grade premiership reunion, 1985, which was the club's first senior premiership that year. So I think there's around 40 or 50 guys in attendance for that. And then we've got our past players day as well. So there's a few guys that are keen for that and get on the balcony and tip a few in. And then we've obviously got our reverse draw on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. So a really big day of footy. Obviously got the girls at 10, Resi's at 12, seniors 2, and then under 18s boys at 4 into the reverse draw. So
And tickets still available for the reverse draw.
they are, mate. Yeah, yep. So we'll there's probably still around 50 or 60 to go, but yeah, $50 for a couple of hours of free grog and a feed and a chance to win a couple of grand. So yeah, hopefully everyone can get around it and obviously support that.
Well, mate, I know if I was still there, I'd definitely be down there watching 4 games of footy and then enjoying the reverse draw. So
My word.
hopefully everyone else feels the same way that I do, Mick. Um, Look, let's talk to our special guest because he's a bloke.
Let's get him in here.
Sorry,
Let's get him in here.
yeah, let's get him in. He's we got a good story about him. He's already repping Bateman's Bay in a roundabout way, but going to become a very big part of the club next year. Sam, you've signed on obviously as the 2026 first grade coach. Tell me, and I guess tell the listeners about how did that go down? What was the process? When did Mick kind of first approach you? How hard was the decision? Just walk us through that.
Yeah, well, it all sort of came about at the start of the year, I'd say. I've been communicating with Mick even last year, just discussing. I'm sure this was happening in the background and I was unbeknownst to it, but he was sort of just picking my brain about how the footy club I'm currently coaching, Main, goes about it. They've been highly successful in the Riverina Footy League for a long, long time since they probably amalgamated the three towns merged together. So, yeah, he's sort of just picking my brain and asking me sort of how sort of payments are made and how we recruit, just all those different things that make up a footy club. And from those chats, we just kept in touch. And then at the start of the year, when this became a possibility, potentially going into AFL Canberra Premier Division, he sort of reached out and said, "Would you be interested?" And get a lot of water to go under the bridge. But I always said, again, Main and I, it was sort of, we always had a mutual decision that I was going to leave. I think 5 years at any country footy club is a long time, and I think they probably need new ideas and again just a fresh voice, and I probably need a new challenge as well. Or that's what I was looking at. And yeah, I kept communicating with Mick, and it sort of just kept coming more and more to fruition. It was almost too good to be true, considering we've been longing to get back to the coast, but every year sort of it's been hard to leave Wagga. But sort of we knew that this was going to be the last year, whether it was going to be another footy club in the Riverina or yeah, try and get home. That was obviously the first choice, and yeah, once the announcement was made, it was very easy from our end. We were pretty excited to sign that bit of paper and yeah, get the wheels in the motion for next year and finally sort of yeah understand where we're going to be heading as well as a family. And I'm just super excited now for the opportunity to sort of represent Bateman's Bay in a premier competition that is AFL Canberra, and again try and I guess upset the status quo, so to speak. It's been a top four for a long time, and again I'm under no illusions that there's a lot of work to do, but you've got to yeah, you've got to set goals and you've got to try your best to achieve them, and that's the aim.
So you've mentioned your family, Sam. Who are you
Yep.
bringing down to the coast with you? What you got?
Yeah,
Wife,
no,
kids?
it's not a harem, but it's just the wife, Kate, and we've recently had a little one, May. So she turned one
Oh wow,
2 weeks ago. If Kate's listening, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But
mate.
yeah,
I'd be worried
she's
about I'd be more worried about the harem comment than
yeah, no, yeah, no, no. Might say it's not coming out for a while. In saying that, though, her family is moving down to Narooma, and my mum's close by in Canberra, dad's down in Bega, and then my sister's in Browley, Maria, one of those two places, I should know. But we're
the
sort of
best way.
spread out around the coast, so it'll be nice to be close to family.
So, mate, you've got quite a history of footy. You played on the on the coast with Mick.
Yep.
My understanding is you were a teenager, so Mick probably would have been in his mid-30s at that stage. Does that sound
Yeah,
right? But
yeah,
you
no.
played together at Marimbula, didn't you?
Yeah, played at Merimbula at the Diggers. That's my home club. Yeah, played with Mick in 2009. I only recently started playing footy. I think my first year was 2007. It might have been 2008. I was 14, maybe 2007. And then yeah, we won a flag. No, it would have been 15. And then 2009, we played together and won a premiership, which was yeah, still one of the biggest highlights in my football career so far. I think it's yeah, in terms of senior premierships. Yeah, I've only won two, and that was one of them. And as a 17-year-old, you're probably thinking, how easy is this? Like, you know, I'm still under 18, and I'm celebrating a first grade flag, and yeah, a fantastic celebration. I still remember actually. I don't know where we were at, someone's house, and it was late, and I remember I was just again, I was 17, so I'm probably reaching my wits end when it got to 2 or 3 in the morning. And I remember falling asleep, and Mick and a couple of others. I'm not sure if Mick was involved, but I'm sure he was around abouts. And they started to get fishing rods and start. They jumped in a boat and started fishing, trying to hook me anyway. So it's one of my, I guess, it's definitely not a proud memory, but it's definitely a memory.
And
Um,
from what I know about Mick, he's probably the ringleader of that one.
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
a I
no,
have a very very vivid memory of this.
yeah. Me and another young fella, Matty Toe, I think he was. He was
Yeah,
17
yeah.
too, and yeah, we would tuck it out. So, but no, as I said, like you think you're going to win them all the time, and it's just not that. It just doesn't go like that. Football is hard, and they're hard to win. So, still look back on that year with a lot of fondness.
What are your memories of playing with Mick? Because obviously Mick was not in his mid-30s. I was just making an old man joke about our illustrious coach here. But what were your memories of Mick? Kind of because you would have been what in your early mid-20s at that point, Mick.
21 I was, mate.
21, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
literally early
absolute
20s.
pup. Yeah. Um, No, well, I remember Mick moved down with a couple of other guys from the Riverina. So I don't know if he moved down with them, but he moved down at the same time. Dan Edwards, our coach, or maybe Reb was there the year before. But yeah, we had a few Riverina guys in that period that were really important to our success. And again, I think that was probably the catalyst in terms of getting over the line. Bateman's Bay. It's funny enough too that we play Bateman's Bay in the 09 Premiership, and they were always the team to beat. They were super successful in the Sapphire Coast Footy Comp, and again, I sort of relate them back to Collingwood because they were so successful. Everyone hated them. But I don't know if that was that or it was the travel, the 2 hours traveling. Everyone was very happy in the comforts of their own or the proximity of their own environment. So I don't know if it was that, but they were super successful, and yeah, it was always I think a thrill to beat them because you knew that you beat a really good football team.
Mate,
Yeah,
isn't it funny how things work out? But like we're
Yeah,
talking about this like 2009, like myself and Marto, premiership players for Merimbula against Bateman's Bay, and now obviously been here for a long period of time. And now yeah, with Marto coming on as well. So it's just funny how things work out in footy
yeah.
circumstances.
It's a bit of a how the tables have turned kind of
Yeah,
situation.
still am a
Uh,
little bit bitter though about '09 because winning a grand final, you'd expect that the best on ground would be a Maroonville player, and I think I
who
was robbed. Batemans
who
Bay got it, so I still don't know. I
Who do you
forget who it
reckon? Who do you
was.
reckon got it, Charlie? Who do you reckon it was?
I'm just thinking of guys who would have been the right age. I mean, my first guess would have to be Greeny, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was, yeah, it would have. Yep, 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 yep. That rings a bell. So yeah, when I catch up with Greeny, I think he owes me my best on ground medal back.
Look, mate, you can have that conversation with Greeny. I'm not taking any part of that. Um, Sam, so you won a premiership with Merimbula as a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
But that wasn't obviously you weren't done in Merimbula. Your footy took you to Adelaide, the wrong half of Adelaide, I will say, but it took you to Adelaide, and you were listed with the Crows for a couple of years, mate.
yeah.
Mick will explain why I've said that at a later date, but um, tell us about that experience of kind of being around that higher level of football.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. That I was very fortunate to be at the right place, right time for me. I sort of came across the football through athletics, and there was a program in place in New South Wales where they offered scholarships to sort of emerging athletes or football players as well. And I sort of, yeah, was very fortunate that I was athletically okay, and I still was very raw in terms of football. So I think I did just enough to get selected in the rookie draft. And yeah, sort of. Um, it the best experience. I definitely was just so young and so naive to it all. But I guess, yeah, like obviously didn't make it in the AFL and didn't go anywhere near making it. However, what it did for me in terms of my development was astronomical. Like I went from a bloke that could realistically like struggle to kick catch handball, and my footy IQ would have been shocking. Like again, just my patterns where I ran to, what I did in contest, like I was very raw. So what it taught me from that aspect was unreal, and it set me up for a great, I guess, state league career, I would say. So yeah, although I didn't get to play AFL or wasn't really anywhere near it, it's yeah, I was able to learn so many things that I could implement into my game, and it could assist me going forward.
So was that Neil Craig at the
Yeah, so
helm at that stage?
Craigie was the coach there, and I did get along very well with him because he's an athletics background, and so him and there was a guy called Charlie Walsh who used to be the AIS cycling coach as well. And so I reckon I would have been a chance if they stuck around because they were big into their 2K and 3K time trials and that sort of that athletics profile that they really enjoyed. However, he got or sacked, for want of a better word, halfway through the year. Then Mark Bickley came in. But during halfway through that year, I ended up getting a blood clot. So
Okay.
it's strange. I was in the gym one day and I thought I was putting on weight. I'm a very skinny guy, and the boys were like, "Gee whiz, you're making some good gains in the gym, Sammy." I'm like, "Oh, fantastic, thanks, boys." And anyway, I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going too bad." Anyway, one of the boys goes, "Hang on a second, what's going on with your arms?" And so I had my normal arm, like just yeah, skinny, and then it looked like Scott Thompson, who used to play at the Crows. His arm was on my left side. It was huge. And sure enough, I had a blood clot. So every time
Jeez.
in my subclavian vein, so every time I raised my arm, blood flow would stop. So it used to just blow up and expand.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I only played 6, 7 games that year and ended up getting an operation to remove the blood clot, and that was my year done. I was on warfarin and blood thinners, and I wasn't allowed to be touched for fear of upsetting the clot. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
it was a strange start to my footy career, and then the second year we had Brenton Sanderson, and I just wasn't his type of footballer. Unfortunately, he was from the Geelong model, where they just were big, contested, strong footballers, and I just wasn't that.
For anyone who doesn't know, Scott Thompson is a bodybuilder masquerading as a footballer. He was
Yeah,
before he retired, so that's
agreed.
that reference there. Um, Sam, how many years did you spend listed with the Crows?
So 2 years on
2
that
years.
list, and then while I was there, they didn't have a sample side at that time. Everyone was mini drafted. So once you were drafted, you went into another draft, and you were farmed out, I guess, to a sample club.
Yep.
And my club ended up being Woodville West Torrens, who
Yeah. Okay.
I played with for the 2 years I was there, and then I went and played with after as well. Once
Okay.
I was delisted.
So what position were you drafted to the Crows to play?
I was a winger, so I
A
played a
winger.
bit of back pocket during the Rand stuff. So that was before sort of Giants and Swans academies came in for New South Wales, and then when I got to the Crows, I was pretty quickly pigeonholed as a winger, just in terms of my ability to run. But yeah, obviously my slender build, probably as Sando pointed out, wasn't prone to being a contested midfielder.
I'll ask you this question, and I want an answer. I know it probably makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, but if there was a player today that you'd compare your game to, who would that be?
Nick Dacos. No, no. Who would it be? It's a really tough question. I'd love to say Hugh McCluggage, but he's so much cleaner and better inside the contest than me. Um, I guess. What's his name from the Demons? Maybe. I think he's more of a tagger now, but he used to. His brother played for Collingwood. Played at the wing. Used to play like 100% game time.
Langdon.
Langdon, that's the
What's his
one.
name?
Yeah.
Is it Ed? Ed Langdon, maybe?
Might be Ed
Uh,
Langdon. Yeah, I think Ed
yeah.
Langdon would be the sort of player well, that's the mold I would fit, I guess.
Mate, I don't think the Dacos comparison is fair. You look like a bloke who could take a contested mark. So,
I'll take that, Joel. Thank you.
so you spend 2 years on the Crows list. I'm assuming that ends in just a delisting.
Yeah,
How
pretty
much
simple
longer?
conversation.
Yeah, how much longer did you spend with Woodville West Torrens before
So
you?
I spent a further 3 years there.
Okay.
And yeah, loved it. That was apart from probably GMA. It's actually hard to say because like all my experiences after Woodville have been phenomenal, but Woodville just gave me a really good a building block to sort of to go off. They sort of welcomed me with open arms too, and it was good to have that connection. And I think you've always got ambitions once you get delisted. you always think that door's not closed, and you sort of want to see if you can try and open up another one. And so that was my mindset going in anyway. Just trying to play at the highest level and with a group I was really comfortable with. And yeah, I spent a further 3 years there, and it was one of some of the best experience, I guess. I've had one of the best experiences I've had anyway in footy.
What uh, what is the kind of the thing that stands out to you as the difference between kind of country footy, which you started in and which you've probably spent the last few years in, and that kind of that elite level? Not even just AFL, but even those state leagues are pretty elite level. What's the thing that stands out to you when you think about your years um, at Adelaide, at Woodville, West Torrens, in terms
Yep.
of like training expectations? What is the standout to you there?
It probably is those expectations, and there's more demand in terms of the way you need to prepare and need to train. Like it's AFL, obviously, they've got 7 days to be able to. You're a full time athlete, so you've got 7 days to be able to prepare
Mm,
and implement strategy and um, work on your fundamentals, so to speak. Whereas at Sample Club, they've only got because you're a semi professional athlete. You've got to try and cram all that in while going to work. So Monday would be a gym session. Tuesday would be actually no, but we trained 3 nights a week. So Monday was just touch and sort of recovery. Tuesday was weights. Wednesday main session. This is in season. Thursday you get off, but the majority of the time you go in and just watch some film on the opposition. Friday would be like a captain's run where you train with either the ones or twos, and then Saturday play. Sunday would be recovery.
mm,
Like you're still required to go in ice baths and those sort of things. So it is still a huge commitment. Whereas I guess at country football, and I think that's why a lot of players that they might play Sanford even AFL for a few years, but it's that comfort of being able to sort of the flexibility of only training twice a week, of going to the gym when you feel like it,
mm.
and having to do an ice bath if you feel like it. I guess I think that's why I guess, and um, in the sample too, like you're playing for the privilege of it, I guess, and it's sort of it is the history uh, and it's very intrinsically motivated. Whereas country footy, it's sort of there's a lot of extrinsic motivators in terms of a lot better money, and there's other things I guess too that can motivate someone to go down that pathway. But yeah, for me, I was trying to play the best footy possible, and I think state league footy gives you that opportunity to do that.
One more question about your time in Adelaide.
Yep.
Was there a club that you loved beating?
Great question. I think we developed a pretty healthy rivalry with West Adelaide. So that was the team I think we loved to beat. They beat us in that 2015 grand final to the year before I moved back. So again, I've still got a bit of resentment towards them, and it's funny because every time I have conversations with boys, especially again, I am thinking of making the move over to South Australia. Like, who would you recommend? It's never West Adelaide.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. We're going to hit pause on the serious interview now because Mick, I just wanted to establish Sam's pedigree as a footballer and your history together before I let you loose with your questions. But yeah, let's get your questions in now. Now that
All
we've
right, we'll get the
established
good
Sam as a
going to the
very
good stuff now, mate. You
yeah,
reckon?
I've been boring them for
Fantastic.
too long. We need some entertainment now, mate.
Righto. Well, obviously, Marto hasn't played for the Seahawks yet, so the first question would be, I guess, your favourite opponent that was from the Seahawks while you were obviously playing at the Diggers, or anyone that you're familiar with.
It's a great question. So when I was playing against the Seahawks from back
Yep.
then, well, I've probably got a story about that. I don't know if it's favourite, but I've it's probably yeah, it's very vivid in my memory. We played at Bateman's Bay at Hanging Rock, and I took a mark and thought I was had space. I don't know who told me I did. Someone did, and I've gone to take
Probably
off, and
me.
I got yeah, might have been you, Mick. Set me up. Anyway, I've taken off, and then I just got absolutely crunched from behind. A very fair tackle, and then I was on the cricket pitch, and my face ended up just sliding along the cricket pitch, and I remember I didn't know who it was at the time. They've gone, that hurt, didn't it? And I was like, just trying to put on a brave face, like 17 at the time, going, nah, it didn't. And he goes, it hurt, didn't it? Give me the footy. And I gave it to him. And I ended up just nodding, going, yeah, it did hurt. Anyway, I've run off, and half my face, it looked like that bloke from Batman, Two Face. Half my face had just peeled off and it was just bleeding.
Oh,
And I had a huge scab for the next 2 weeks. And being a 17-year-old bloke, you are very conscious of your looks at school. So wasn't helping that department, and that was greeny. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably the the memory I've still got um, that
mate,
sticks in my mind. Anyway,
between that and the best on ground, are we going to
yeah,
be able to
I
leave those two in the
know.
same room?
Yeah,
You know, I actually saw Granny do the same thing about 3 weeks ago against Adfa. Exact same
oh,
scenario.
Oh,
So
go
you'll get a
good.
laugh about that. Bit more personal, these ones, mate. So your strangest food combination.
Strangest food combination. Um, strangest food combination. Oh, okay. This might be. Yeah, this is probably counts. I like having 2 minute noodles and then adding tuna to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's
Yeah.
weird, but that's but Kate thinks it's weird, so
I can see it. I can see it.
yeah.
um, Go to karaoke song.
Probably horses.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a standard. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
to Europe specifically, probably like I don't know to Italy, I guess.
Yep.
Somewhere there.
Yep. Next one is the best piece of advice that you've ever received.
Best piece of advice I've ever received. Um, good one. Probably just something along the lines of just being yourself, just be
Yep.
authentic. I don't know,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep. And then last one, bit similar to the last question. So, if you had a time machine and you could go back to any place or time, where would you go?
Oh, I think it's a great question. Um, Ooh, I reckon from a football perspective, probably that 2015 grand final. As I
Yep.
mentioned, we should have. Yeah, I feel like we let ourselves down. So I'd love to play that game again, and or yeah, that or even last year's grand final too. Actually, against Colin Gully, that's definitely one too that I think was very winnable, and we let ourselves down. So yeah, maybe probably those two moments from a football perspective, anyway.
Yep. Perfect. That's
I,
me,
I
Joel.
might add one question to this list just for funsies here, if that's all right, Mick.
Yep.
Um, Sam, out of all the players you've ever played with,
Mm-hmm.
who looks the most like Shannon Hearn?
I probably didn't then. I would have had a full head of hair back then.
Oh, you're referring to Mick. I know.
Oh man, I've been calling Mick various forms of Shannon Hearn since I started at the paper embayments. Oh, sorry, my son's just come in to say hello. Big hello, daddy there.
Shannon
Yeah,
Hurt,
sorry.
yeah. I think Mick. Did you have? I swear you had hair back when we played in
Yeah, I was only
2009.
21,
Yeah,
mate.
that's what I
Jeez.
mean. Yeah, so no, there was no. Just I'm trying to think of all the ball blokes I played with. There hasn't been too many.
This would be a good time to pull out your hat, mate.
Nah, next week.
All right, enough frivolity. Let's get back into this. So Sam, you finished up in South Australia then the 2015 season.
Yep.
And I'd imagine, based on what you're saying about that grand final, probably a bit of a bad taste in your mouth, kind of leaving South Australia under those circumstances from a footy perspective. What was your next move? Where'd you go after that?
They ended up coming back to Canberra to play with I guess the newly formed Canberra Demons. They sort of began in 2016, and yeah, I guess the opportunity to again be part of like a foundation club, I guess, but also to being close to home and just to university. I was probably 23, 24 at the time, and I was like, right, I've actually got to knuckle down. I'm just I'm not a footballer anymore. I need to find out what that is going to be, or what I want to do after, or what I want to do, yeah, with my career. And so I sort of had an idea that teaching would be something of interest, and yeah, ended up coming back to use, going to University of Canberra to teach, and then playing footy with the Canberra Demons, which was it was again an awesome opportunity and footballing experience too. We had some hard times and experienced some serious hardships. To begin with, we used to get absolutely belted by the Sydney Swans. Who there was one game I think where we played Kurt Tippett. Kurt Tippett played in the ruck, and he was probably on more money than our entire team combined, but like times two or three. So yeah, um, but through those hardships, I guess, like we sort of galvanised as a group. It sort of started off field. We sort of had a lot of fun in those early days, being a pretty young group, and I think I was again 23, 24, one of the older players there. So again, when you've got a 24-year-old leading the charge, um,
I
probably
suppose
not the wisest.
you probably would have crossed paths with Kurt Tippett at Adelaide Football Club
I
just
did
about as
play,
well,
yeah,
wouldn't
I
it?
did
Yeah.
play with Tip. I didn't play with him, but I was on my locker was facing him. It definitely wasn't next to his, but it was opposite his. But yeah, no, I knew Tipo from those days. But yeah, it's sort of as I said, like I feel we sort of galvanised really well and just became really good friends. And we sort of were able to, in that 2017, we got Kate Klemke on board, who's an absolute star of a coach, and learned so much from him. One of the best football brains I've sort of played under. And he was really good. And I guess Youngie, too, is our footy manager, who's now the manager of Eastlake, too. And they were able to sort of recruit some good Riverina footballers and some guys from those Sydney Swans and Giants academies, and we ended up being quite competitive within 3 years. So it was a lot of fun, but it was good to see that we just continually improved each year, and were able to compete with the best teams by the end of it.
So I mean, it sounds like you've got experience kind of doing the role or doing the job that you're going to be trying to achieve at Bateman's Bay for the next few years. Do you see many parallels kind of between those years at the Canberra Demons and what you're hoping to achieve here as well from next year?
100%. That's again, you've got to try and take aspects from those. From those things that you've done. So yeah, I'll definitely be leaning on some of the things that we did really well then. But also too, so like I guess again, Maine too. It's such a fantastic footy club, and I think you just take aspects of all the good things from all the different places you've been.
Mm. So Sam, what was your first coaching gig?
So I was at Maine.
Okay.
I ended up after 2019. It would have been. That was when I finished Canberra. We planned to move to London for 2 years, and then we lasted 6 months. And then COVID happened. So ended up in. I was in hotel quarantine, and I got a call from one of the recruiters at Maine. I was literally 2 days, I think. I landed in Australia, been in quarantine for 2 days, and he called me saying, "Would I be keen on a game of footy?" And I was like, "Mate, it's the last thing I've thought about. I sort of just want to get out of this hotel room, to be fair." But yeah, no, it was the best thing I did. I took him up on it and played the COVID year in Maine, and then they offered me the job. And um, I was again, it was exciting, but also nerve wracking because it's something new. So I hadn't actually done coaching before. It's always something that I wanted to.
Mm.
And it was more seeing if I was going to be any good at it or if I could actually do it. And I'm so glad that they sort of took a bit of a leap of faith in me. And I took it on board. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it the last 5 years.
Yeah. So you spent 5 years at this club.
Yep.
You come into Bateman's Bay next year. Obviously, we've spoken about that. What are you most excited about in terms of kind of the role next year? What's kind of what's the draw for you?
Yeah, well, speaking of Mick, being a person from growing up in Merimbula, you had to leave at a pretty early age if you wanted to be successful in AFL.
Mm.
Unfortunately, the pathway wasn't there. So, I guess for kids that are in a similar position to me now, there is going to be that pathway, and there is that club now that sort of represents the South Coast, and something that we should all be super proud of. And it's something that we're hoping we're hoping we're going to be really competitive, and um, yeah, to have a successful football club competing in a premier competition from the South Coast is something that is very exciting, and I'm something as I said, I'm very passionate about, and I want kids to thrive and not have to leave the area, and give them a pathway to playing potentially AFL football or state league footy.
Mm. So you're obviously you'll finish your season this year. When
Yep.
do you plan to kind of get into town and start working with, I guess, Mick and some of the other senior guys at the team to start planning out next season?
Yeah, well, Mick's been awesome. He's already been on the front foot, and he's sort of given me a bit of a template on potential recruits and sort of who we want to try and acquire, who we want to try and target. Sort of to give me a rundown on all the boys that we've got currently too, which is great. I'm actually coming down next week, which I'm just really excited about. And again, just to build connections with blokes, like you just want to get to meet everyone. And I think that's really important at a footy club, having a really good culture. And Bateman's Bay are really good, or already have that in place. They've got a great foundation. They're super successful in their own right. So it's just about me being able to meet the guys, start putting those bonds, and then yeah, just probably once my commitments with Main are finished, start to. Again, it'll probably happen behind the scenes too, starting to implement what we believe is going to be a successful game plan, how we want to play our footy next year, and sort of what that trajectory looks like. Because although we can be narrow-minded in our thinking, we've got to think 2, 3 years down the track. It can't just be, and we can't just be judged by wins and losses next year. It's like, okay, what are the processes that we can put in place, and what are some indicators of success? What are some indicators of success? What do they look like for the Batemans Bay Footy Club? Because again, if we can do those more often than not, it usually will result to wins on the scoreboard. But it's just about putting some of those things in place next year and trying to meet them.
Mick, are there any blokes at the club that he should try and avoid next week when he comes down for a visit?
Oh, probably plenty, Jolie, I'd say. But no, we're obviously really excited to get Sammy down next week, and I guess show off our town and our footy club, and yeah, obviously show off the talent that we've got and get him around the group. And like Marto said, we've obviously had a fair bit of conversation already around what we feel we've got already, and maybe just a couple areas that we need to load up on just so we're competitive. But yeah, obviously really excited to get him down next week, mate, and show off what we obviously love about our footy club.
So, Sam, I guess you'll start working on things like you mentioned it already. You'll start working on potential recruitment for playing wise for next year. I guess you'll also start focusing on what your coaching setup is going to look like as
Yep.
well in terms of assistants and whatnot. I guess my first question is what will Mick be doing next year, for starters?
He's done a pretty cracking job with the operations manager job, but I'm going to be leaning on him very heavily. I think, yeah, I'm hoping he's going to be involved in some sort of coaching capacity, because he's a proven winner, I guess, from pricing from his time coaching, and this year coaching too. He's hasn't lost a game, so yeah, I'll be leaning on Mick very heavily, and again, like leaning on people at the football club, because um, yeah, I sort of, again, a good old adage, like you only know what you know. And again, I'm coming into a completely new environment, and I want to make sure the fabric of that stays the same. I'm just there to sort of just add my 2 cents, I guess, at times, but I still want the place to be successful, and be, again, a football club is a second home away from home. Like you spend so much time there, so we want to make it a place that people love coming to.
Hmm. What do you take elements of what you learnt kind of from observing the coaching group at Adelaide? Do you take elements of that into the way your coaching style at country footy?
I think probably not so much from Adelaide. Like I think I was so young and naive. But I think from Woodville, especially Michael Godden, he's now actually an assistant coach for the Crows. So yeah, he did a lot of good. So a lot of aspects from him. Kate Klemke, as I mentioned before, he was awesome. Like what he was able to get out of, he just maximised the group's potential. So yeah, those probably two guys I mentioned in particular. And then again, like there's an assistant coach to Woodville, um, Jared Wright, who's now coaching South Adelaide, and he was pretty crucial to me playing first grade football at Woodville. So yeah, just taking bits and pieces from all those people.
And we're going to get the scoop here first. When do you think we'll be able to start maybe announcing some recruitment or coaching news on the podcast, mate?
For myself, oh, for Mick or me, or
Oh, you, Sam. You, it sounds like you're
oh,
going to be in charge of that.
when, when we
Putting
get
you on,
recruits,
put,
I guess.
put you on the spot here, mate.
Oh, whenever I would, when once we sign them up, I'll an answer to the world. Oh, yeah.
I like him. I would have liked him as a journalist as well.
An answer to the world, absolutely.
Mick, you've mentioned on here before that how big a coup it is to get Sam into the club for next year. You've often said that he was basically plan A and it's come off. I mean, I know he's he's been a really good interview tonight on the podcast, but mate, what are you kind of looking forward to in terms of working with Sam next year?
I just think obviously knowing Marto and knowing him for a very long period of time, I just feel really comfortable. I guess handing him the reins to coach the footy team, and he's obviously advanced in his coaching and he's playing with his experience, and I just felt a long way out that he was the right guy. And like you said, last year I'd sort of we'd had a few phone calls picking his brain about certain things, and again, mate, for me being a kid from the Riverina, they were a football club, them and Osborne, and Colin Gully, probably the three powerhouses of out that way. So I think I just wanted to pick his brain, and then once I was getting his feedback and hearing his, I guess, his footy IQ and the things that he knew about footy, I was just really comfortable in the fact that I was getting off the phone just going, right, I need to get this bloke to the bay. So I think for me, I've obviously been a coach of this football club for a long period of time. So I think obviously last year Blackers did it, but so 10 years now that I've been heavily involved with it, that I feel really comfortable and really happy with the bloke that we've got to lead us into this new era for the footy club, and really excited about what's to come. And like Marto said, like it's gonna be tough, and we know that. Like it's not something that is new to us. We know that when we first went up to Canberra in community division, it was very tough for a few years as well. So it's going to take a lot of hard work, but I think we've got the right bloke steering the ship, Jolie. So watch his space.
Well, Sam, look, I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say welcome to the club. It's a fantastic club. I can speak from experience that I mean, and you're not even an outsider, but they take outsiders in, and you're part of the club basically as soon as you put your hand up and say I want to be part of this club. It's such a good culture, and as Mick said, it seems like you're the perfect man to lead this club into the future. Which is a very exciting and bright future for the club. So yeah, I think we're all stoked to have someone of your ilk on board, mate. So thanks for being part of the podcast tonight.
No, thank you for the kind words, boys, and really appreciate it. And yeah, as I said, I'm so excited for 2026, and and I'm just wishing everyone the best of luck too for the remainder of their years. And I'm hoping to hear about all the premiership success at the end of the year.
Good stuff. And yes, we don't have any news to tease out just yet, but we promise that once there is recruitment and coaching news to tell, you'll probably
Hawk
hear it
Talk.
first
It'll
on the
drop
socials.
first.
But
Drop first on Hawk Talk, Jolie.
sorry.
We'll drop it first on Hawk Talk.
Look, you might get it on
Exclusive.
socials first, but the first proper. I'm going to call us media. You know what? I'm going to call us media. The first proper media you'll get is Hawk Talk, and we might even get a few exclusive interviews in there. Who knows? But hey, good episode, boys. Once again, thanks for coming on and taking your time out. Sam, I also noticed Sam said he was a teacher. We're building up a little collection of
Yeah.
teachers in the first grade team, so that's good news. You guys can bond over that.
Absolutely.
But thanks for taking time out, Mick. Always great to see you, mate.
You too, Jolie.
And
Another great episode.
we will see you next time on Hawk Talk.
Cheers, boys.
See you,
Thanks,
lads.
Marto.
Thanks, guys.